My name's Ethan Cole, and 3 sentences and we got kicked out of the neighborhood pool on the hottest day of the year, not because we broke a rule, but because the woman who ran the HOA decided she didn't like my face. My daughter held her water wings and looked at me like I'd failed her. That's the part that made something inside me go quiet and then loud. We ended up building our own little place, and that was the spark. We moved to Willow Ridge thinking it would be the kind of place where you know your neighbor's name, and your kids ride bikes until dusk. I grew up fixing things, porches, engines, whatever needed hands, so when Claire and I bought a sloping lot, I pictured weekends of sweat and laughter, not court dates. For a while it was that simple. Barbecues, late-night beers, the community pool that smelled like sunscreen and summer. Then Marjorie Hale took over the board. Marjorie folded rules like paper cranes, neat and sharp. She introduced curfews and safety measures that read like common sense until you watched them land on people who couldn't fight back. Toys banned, inflatables forbidden, adult only, hours that conveniently matched the schedules of her circle. It felt petty, so I organized a petition, a dozen signatures from families who'd been there a decade. We showed up to the meeting with it pinned to a clipboard and got a polite dismissal. Memorial Day cracked everything. A laminated notice stapled to the pool gate declared a temporary suspension, violation of pool conduct. Nothing specific, just a bar on our family. Claire argued. I argued. The lifeguard shrugged. Later, I saw Marjorie's friends lounging by the clubhouse, enjoying the very things she banned. That hypocrisy hit me. The private rulebook applied unevenly. I could have sued. Plenty of people do. But I don't like lawyers for breakfast, and Claire didn't want our life turned into dispute. So I did what I know. I read the deed. County plat maps are dusty if you don't look, but they told a story, a thin wedge of land at the back corner of our yard that the HOA didn't control. It was small, but it was ours. I told Claire. She laughed and said, "You're not buying a bulldozer," but she smiled in a way that meant she trusted me. Marcus, a buddy who runs a construction crew, grinned when I pitched it. "You're building a splash pad?" I said, "Call it whatever, it's a place for our kids." Rose from 3 houses down brought tools. Neighbors offered concrete and paint, and by June we had a small, sturdy slab with a slide and a shaded cabana. We joked and called it the Cove. The first afternoon we opened, a dozen kids showed up, sticky hands, sun-cracked noses, real laughter. Claire laughed, too honest, open laughter, and I remembered why people fight. Not for vindication, but for the permission to be themselves. Marjorie couldn't hide her irritation. She sent a cease and desist from the HOA attorney, a sealed envelope that smelled like escalation. The HOA meetings turned ugly. Marjorie would stand at the podium and recite bylaws, eyes flicking to our house like an accusation. "You can't create private amenities that circumvent community standards," she'd say. I remember replying, "Steady. We're using land that's ours. We're not evading rules, we're exercising a property right." The room felt like a courthouse. Allies stared at their shoes. She escalated. Petty fines, whispered rumors that we hired people to intimidate board members. Anonymous notes slipped under our door. Someone keyed Marcus's truck one night. Toddlers found thumbtacks on the pathway to the Cove. Small harms, ugly messages, intimidation by exhaustion. People started picking sides. Marcus showed up one afternoon with a time-lapse camera and a thermos of coffee. "Let's make this thing good," he said. And then we put on a montage, pouring concrete, bolting the slide, painting a mural Claire designed of a ridiculous, smiling whale. The build was messy and beautiful. Neighbors bringing folding chairs, old Mr. Adler offering stories while he sanded a bench, Rosa teaching kids to paint with their hands. We fed each other in sweat and jokes. The Cove became more than concrete. Tension swelled into a kind of theater in the neighborhood. At one meeting, Marjorie leaned across the podium and said, "This isn't about you, Mr. Cole. It's about maintaining value." My reply was quieter than I felt. Maintaining value shouldn't mean silencing people. Someone in the back muttered. A friend later told me Marjorie whispered to her ally, "He wants to be the neighborhood hero." The accusation stung not because it was untrue, but because it reduced everything to ego. I looked at Marcus, then he was larger than life. But he had an old scar across his knuckle from helping refinish Mr. Adler's porch last winter. Rosa, who moved here to escape a city job, had brought 3 buckets of lemonade one Sunday and stayed because she liked people who waved back. Marjorie launched a formal complaint alleging noise and unauthorized construction. It was leveraged. The threat of legal fees makes people nervous, and she knew it. So we did the paperwork back. Permits, safety reports, drainage plans. A county inspector came and nodded. Everything's by the book, he said, and those words, bureaucratic as they were, felt like a small vindication. Things got uglier. Anonymous emails, a rumor that Claire had intimidated a board member, a landscaper's trailer keyed in the middle of the night. I found a note tucked behind our mailbox. Stop. Short, brutal. It felt like a line drawn in the sand, and for the first time I considered stepping back. Claire didn't. She told me to breathe and keep building. So we did. Election day for the HOA board came with rain and a turnout that surprised everyone. We knocked on doors with coffee and stale donuts, explained the facts, and asked people to consider the kind of neighborhood they wanted. Marjorie campaigned hard, glossy flyers, choreographed smiles, but people were tired of one person shaping everyone's life. When the ballots were counted, Marjorie lost. The room exhaled in a way that felt almost religious. Afterward, the new board didn't just erase the past, they negotiated. We sat at the long cafeteria table at the community hall, swapped ideas about schedules, funding for repairs, and ways to include every voice. We fixed the HOA pool's broken pump together, paint under nails and all, and somewhere between those small, practical repairs, the community started to stitch back together. The cove stayed open, and for a while it was the bridge. Kids cut summer between both pools, neighbors swapped recipes and repair tips, and Claire and I watched our daughter run wet and wild, her laughter whole again. The cove became part of the neighborhood's story instead of its scandal. Still, the line between care and control is thin. Marjorie genuinely believed she was protecting standards. Many who backed her feared that one small exception becomes 2, and then 10. I believed in permission, in giving people space to be messy and joyful. Both points have merit. Both points can be weaponized. The last scene I won't shake is election night. Rain, paper ballots stacked like small books, and Marjorie standing on the steps in a raincoat that somehow didn't match her expression. She watched the cove's light across the street, and for a moment her face softened, maybe with regret, maybe with something else. She turned and walked away. The image sits with me. No cinematic resolution, just a woman leaving a place she tried to order and a neighborhood figuring out how to live together again. So what do you think? Was Marjorie protecting the community or protecting a little bit of power? Were we right to build joy instead of filing more complaints? Or should we have fought differently? Drop your take below. Tell a story from your own street. And if you liked this, share and subscribe for more neighborhood tales. Argue hard. Be kind in your words. And remember, the difference between safety and control is a debate worth having.